Good morning, students. Today we will be dealing with chapter 4 of your science book. The name of the chapter is Heat. We wear woolen clothes during winters when it is cold outside. Woolen clothes keeps us warm. We prefer to wear light colored cotton clothes when it is hot. This gives us a feeling of coolness. You might have wondered why particular types of clothes are suitable for a particular season. In winter, you feel colder inside the house. If you come up in the sun, you feel warm. In summer, you feel hot even inside the house. How do we know that whether an object is hot or cold? How do we find out how hot or cold an object is? In this chapter, we will try to seek answers to some of these questions. Now, we'll start with the introduction of this chapter, hot and cold. In our day-to-day life, we come across a number of objects. Some of them are hot and some of them are cold. Tea is hot and ice is cold. You can make a list of some of the objects which you commonly use with their varying temperature. They can be either hot, they can be either cold. We see that some objects are cold while some are hot. You also know that some objects are hotter than the others, while some are colder than others. How do we decide which object is hotter than the other? We often do it by touching the object, but is our sense of touch reliable? Let us find out. Now, in the picture ahead of you, you can see the picture of a sun. Now, this image of a sun, you can just make out by seeing that yes, this is something hot in front of you. How do we make out that something is hotter and generally a hotter object is present in front of us? How do we have a perception of classification of hot and cold? These are some various questions that you will be able to answer in this chapter. Hot and cold. The picture ahead of you, there are two pictures. This is cold. This is hot. Ice is cold, whereas the fire is hot. Now, these two are varying objects with their varying temperatures. How do we find out that something is so hot and something is very cold? There are certain different instruments that we used. One of the most commonly used instrument is that of a thermometer. You must be all aware of the fact that what is a thermometer? Thermometer is an instrument where one can measure its temperature, where one can measure the intensity of an object, the temperature from varying hotness to coldness. The thermometer that measures our body temperature is called a clinical thermometer. Okay, the thermometer that we use to measure our body temperature whenever we fall ill, whenever we go to the doctor having fever, the doctor uses the thermometer to check our temperature of the body. That thermometer is known as clinical thermometer. A clinical thermometer consists of a long, narrow, uniform glass tube. In this picture you can see that it is a long and it is a narrow glass tube in front. This bulb contains mercury. Now the element which indicates the temperature over here, that element is known as mercury. Outside the bulb, a small shining thread of mercury can be seen. If you don't see the mercury thread, you can rotate the thermometer a little bit till you see it. Alright, now a clinical thermometer reads temperature from 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius. This is the temperature variance of a clinical thermometer, that how the temperature can vary from 35 to 42 degrees Celsius. This is the temperature range. How do we read a thermometer? You have to wash the thermometer first, preferably with an antiseptic solution. Hold it firmly and give it a few jerks. You just have to jerk it a little bit before, so that the thermometer, the mercury element which is present, it touches the bottom. Now in this animation you can see that the bottom of the thermometer, this is where the mercury should be usually present. Now we have, after jerking it, we have to check that the mercury is at the bottom level. The jerks will bring the level of mercury down. Ensure that it falls below 35 degrees Celsius. Now, place the bulb of thermometer under your tongue. After 1 minute, take the thermometer out and note the reading. This is your body temperature. The temperature should always be stated with its unit, degrees Celsius. The unit of temperature that we generally prefer is degrees Celsius. It is also Fahrenheit scale, but for us, for measuring in our day-to-day life, the most frequently used unit for a temperature is degrees Celsius. Now you have to, what I said means that you have to place a thermometer inside your mouth under your tongue for at least 1 minute. The mercury from its down level will raise its level with a thin shining line that you can see after you take it out after 1 minute. That shining line, the place where it ends, that is known as the body temperature of your. The normal temperature of human body is 37 degrees Celsius. Note that the temperature is stated with its unit. 37 is the temperature. The unit is here degree Celsius. Next topic of a chapter brings ahead to transfer of heat. There are generally three types of ways where heat can transfer from one body to another. You can see the three ways over here. The first one is conduction, second one is convection, and the third one is radiation. You might have observed that a frying pan becomes hot when kept on a flame. It is because the heat passes from the flame to the utensil. When the pan is removed from the fire, it slowly cools down. Why does it cool down? The heat is transferred from the pan to the surroundings. So you can understand that in both the cases, the heat flows from a hotter object to a cooler object. In fact, in all the cases, heat flows from a hotter object to a colder object. This is the law of heat, you can say, that a heat only flows from hotter to cooler object. This is the direction where the heat flows. Now, in this picture, there are three modes of heat transfer shown. We will discuss one by one in detail now. First one is conduction. The process by which heat is transferred from the hotter end to the cooler end of an object is known as conduction. From a hotter end. Now we'll just take an example here. Let's deal with an activity which is shown over here. First you have to take a rod or a flat strip of a metal, say an aluminium or an iron. So this strip can be aluminium or an iron. Fix a few small wax pieces on the rod. The red dots that you see, let's consider these are the small pieces of wax. These pieces should be at nearly equal distance. The distance between each piece should be equal. Clamp the rod to a stand. Now this rod has been clamped to a stand. You just have to fix it on a stand so that it stays firmly at its position. If you do not find a stand, you can also put an end between the rock and a brick. You can just adjust it according to your convenience. Now heat the other end of the rod and observe. Now what do we have to do over here is you have to heat this other end. You can either use a candle or a Bunsen burner or anything. Slowly what you will notice that these drops of wax fall down one by one. What is happening over here? Now we'll just come on to this picture. The animation here is showing that a candle is here. Let's consider this group of atoms to be the atoms in a rod. Now, initially all these are blue, right? When it is heated, the red ones, the heat is slowly getting transferred from here to that side. Now, which is the hotter end? This is the hotter end because the candle is nearer over here, and here it is the cooler end. Slowly the heat is getting transferred to the last end of the rod. Similarly, this is the atomic level that I'm showing it to you. Now on this picture you can see the movement of the heated atoms by the wax dropping. Now wax melts whenever you heat it. Now as the heat passes from this point and slowly goes on to the other end, the wax starts dropping. This is the process of conduction that is taking place due to touch. That is the main point over here. The process of heat transfer by touch is known as conduction. The materials which allow heat to pass through them easily are conductors of heat. Examples could be aluminium, iron and copper. Those aluminium that do not allow the heat to pass through them easily, they are the poor conductors of heat, and those are known as insulators. Now we'll deal with the next mode of heat transfer, that is convection. For a better understanding of this, let us deal with an activity. Take a round bottom flask. Now this is a round bottom flask. The picture ahead of you, this is known as a round bottom flask. Fill it 2/3 with the water. Place it on a tripod or make some arrangement to place the flask in such a way that you can heat it by placing a candle below it. Wait till the water in the flask is still. Now place a crystal of potassium permanganate at the bottom of the flask, gently using a straw. Now heat the water by placing the candle just below the crystal. The candle has been placed over here. You have to heat the flask now. Write your observations in a notebook and draw a picture also of what you're observing there. When water is heated, the water near the flame gets hot. The water that is near to the flame, that is the down one, this gets hot first, right? Hot water rises up, the cold water from the sides move down towards the source of heat. This water also gets hot and rises, and water from the sides moves down. This process continues till the whole water gets heated. This mode of heat transfer is known as convection. Now, what is happening over here? The water that is at the bottom gets heated first because that is nearer to it, right? And then it slowly moves its sides. See here, it is getting burned. This is the movement of the potassium permanganate that we're using over here. See, the bottom one is getting red. Red means hot. Blue depicts a cooler side. The cooler is coming near to the flame, getting hot, reversing its side, going up, coming down, going up, coming down. This cycle whole contributes to be the process of convection. Let us understand the concept of radiation, which is the last mode of heat transfer. The people living in the coastal areas experience an interesting phenomena. During the day, the land gets heated faster than the water. The air over the land becomes hotter and rises up. The cooler air from the sea rushes in towards the land to take its place. The warm air from the land moves towards the sea to complete the cycle. The air from the sea is called the sea breeze. To receive the cooler sea breeze, the windows of the houses in coastal areas are made to face the sea. At night, it is exactly the reverse. The water cools down more slowly than the land. So the cool air from the land moves towards the sea. This is called the sea breeze. The picture here is shown to you. In the day, what happens? The land gets heated up very quickly, but water gets heated up slowly and slowly. And what happens is the warmer air which is present on the land moves towards the sea, and the cooler sea breeze comes towards the land because the air transfers from hotter object to a cooler object. So the hotter is land and the cooler is sea in comparison to one another. In daytime it is land breeze and in night time it is sea breeze because the cooler air from the land goes to the sea because land gets cooled down even more easily. Now this is the process where the radiation comes into work. If we come out in the sun, we feel warm. How does the heat from the sun reach us? It cannot reach us by conduction or convection, as there is no medium such as air or in most part of the space between the earth and the sun. From the sun, the heat comes to us by another process that is known as radiation. The transfer of heat by radiation does not require any medium. It can take place whether a medium is present or not. When we sit in front of a room heater, we get heated by this process. A hot utensil kept away from the flame cools down as it transfers heat to the surroundings by radiation. Now, radiation is the mode of transfer where there is no medium present. That mode is known as radiation. Let's deal with the last topic of this chapter, that is woolen clothes keeps us warm in winter. In the winter, we use woolen clothes. Woolen is a poor conductor of heat. Moreover, there is an air trapped in between the woolen fibers. This air prevents the flow of heat from our body to the cold surroundings. So that's the reason why we feel warm. Now you must be clear with all these topics that I have taught you. You can also find a worksheet attached with this video. After going through this video and understanding all the concepts, you can do the worksheet and WhatsApp me your answers the next day. Thank you so much, students.